Greetings, I am Aramande, and you're listening to me read a fanfiction. This is a My Little Pony fanfic by Crash Jet, called Brotherly Bond, which is a story about Pipsqueak and his brother Patch. I will attempt to do voices for all the characters, but I can't promise perfection, as I'm Swedish. That also accounts for any pronunciation mistakes I make. I think that covers it all. Let's begin. Brotherly Bond, Chapter 1.
Hey, Pip. Yeah, Patch? What is it?
Pipsqueak said as he looked up at the older pony before him. The stallion was a full-grown pony, and like the younger colt, his pinto coat was a pure white, splotched with brown spots, slightly darker than Pipsqueak's shade of spots. While the speck around his eye matched that of the colt's, it was instead surrounding his right eye.
"I've been thinking," the stallion Patch said, as he scratched his dark brown mane gently with a hoof. "Well, I think I want to join the Royal Guard."
This news stunned Pipsqueak, as he started to stammer.
Join the Royal Guard? But, if you join them, you'll have to leave."
Patch let out a small smile. "I talked with the recruiter. He said that I would be able to stay locally. I wouldn't be moving too far from you, baby bro." He looked over, seeing that his younger brother had his head down, still frowning. "Hey, come on, kiddo." He rubbed a hoof atop the colt's head gently, messing up his mane.
"You know me. I'll come by and see you every chance I get."
Pipsqueak laughed slightly as he stepped away from Patch's hoof.
"You promise?"
Patch's grin got wider. "You know it, Pip. Can't leave my baby brother alone for too long." He let out a chuckle as Pipsqueak ran to him, wrapping his hooves around his body in a brotherly hug.
"You know, I haven't told Mom and Dad about this yet. I wanted you to be the first to know. You think I'd be a good soldier?" "I think you'll be the best soldier," Pipsqueak exclaimed, smiling wide.
"Thanks a lot, Pip," Patch said, as he brought the colt closer with his own hug. "That means a lot to me. That you have faith in me. I won't let you down."
"Pipsqueak! Pipsqueak!"
"Huh?" Pipsqueak said as he snapped out of his daydream. He found himself in Miss Shirley's classroom, the magenta-coated teacher looking at him with a concerned look on her face. Most of the students were staring at him as well, something he didn't welcome at all.
"Pipsqueak, I wanted you to read out loud the next page of the book," she said. "We've been waiting."
"Oh, Pipsqueak looked down at his open book and started to read out loud the page it was turned to.
"Pipsqueak."
Unfortunately for him, it was the wrong page.
"Archer already read that page for us." "Oh, sorry,"
he said, as he looked away, embarrassed. The several students laughing didn't help matters either, but they immediately stopped when Miss Shirley commanded them to. He looked up as the school bell started to ring, silently cursing it for not going off just a few seconds early.
"Well, children, it looks like class is dismissed."
Shirley smiled as she walked back to the chalkboard.
"I want you all to have a fun and safe weekend. But don't forget to finish the math homework I assigned you all. I'll see your happy faces on Monday."
There was a collective cheer from the students as most of them raced for the door. Pipsqueak, however, simply dragged himself out of his seat and trudged along head down.
"Pipsqueak, wait."
He heard Shirley call for him.
"I'd like to speak with you for a moment before you go."
"Oh." One filly, Diamond Tiara, sneered as she walked past the colt.
"Pipsqueak's gonna get it,"
she laughed meanly as she walked out the door.
"Like totally."
Her best friend Silver Spoon joined the laugh as she followed the pink pony. Pipsqueak turned and looked up at the teacher with fear of what she would say to him.
"Miss Shirley, I'm really sorry for not paying attention in class today. You don't have to apologize, Pipsqueak. Charlie frowned as she shook her head. Your parents told me about what happened last year, and I'm proud that you still came into school today.
Pipsqueak couldn't help but lower his head again. 1 year ago to this day, it was the worst day of his life. And here was his own teacher bringing it up.
I understand that you're really upset, and you may not want to talk about it. But if you ever do need somebody to talk to, I'm here for you, my little pony.
Thank you, Miss Charlie. He turned away and started to walk off. She was right. He didn't want to talk about it. He hated talking about it. All it did was remind him of that day. It reminded him of the pain of knowing that no matter how hard he wished and hoped, nothing could change that day. And yet every pony, from his mom and dad to his relatives, and just now his teacher, wanted to discuss it. It was as if no pony wanted him to forget it. Why couldn't they leave it alone? Were they so interested in making his heart hurt? He and his family moved from Trottingham to Ponyville just last summer, and he was enrolled in elementary school when autumn rolled around. He would spend most of every day just paying attention to lessons and taking notes. He hardly ever answered any questions unless called on. He didn't like being put on the spot, especially when facing the classmates he knew so little of. His hope was just to skate by school without being noticed by any pony other than the teacher. That was about to change.
Look at me, I'm Scootaloo.
Pipsqueak's thoughts were interrupted by the commotion he saw as he made it outside. Silver Spoon was up on her rear hoofs, flapping her forehoofs as Diamond Tiara watched and laughed. He noticed the 3 fillies standing in front of them, and he saw that the white unicorn and yellow earth pony were trying to hold back the orange Pegasus, who seemed intent on knocking out her tormentors. He recognized them from his classroom: Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and Scootaloo.
Let me go!
Scootaloo scowled as she tried to free herself from her friend's hold.
I'm gonna knock some sense into these stuck-up brats. You can't, Scootaloo,
Sweetie Belle said, struggling to keep a tight hold on the Pegasus's legs.
If Miss Charlie catches you fighting again.
Apple Bloom managed to say, despite the fact that she was holding back Scootaloo by the tail, using her teeth. Pipsqueak watched the scene for a bit longer before he decided to attempt to walk off unseen. He didn't want to catch the bad end of Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon's teasing, so he walked past them, head down and careful not to draw attention to himself.
Hey, Silver, the runt is back from getting yelled at by Miss Charlie,
Diamond Tiara said as she looked at him with a malicious grin. Drat, Pipsqueak muttered to himself, knowing what to expect from the 2 bullies. Silver Spoon walked over to him.
That was fast. Did Miss Charlie see how dumb you are and send you back to kindergarten?
She said, poking him with a hoof. He knew that she was just setting up Diamond Tiara for the next taunt. He was one of the brightest students in the class, but also the smallest.
It makes sense,
Diamond Tiara added.
He's almost as big as a kindergartner anyway. Isn't that right, Runt? Well, Shorty, what have you got to say for yourself?
Silver Spoon said, pushing Pipsqueak to the ground.
Leave him alone, Apple Bloom shouted. He didn't do nothing to you guys.
Pipsqueak closed his eyes and covered his head with his hoofs, expecting the 2 to start beating him up. It was an all too familiar scene to him. Soon his mind found himself back in Trottingham School, and the 2 spoiled fillies were now a pair of larger bullies, taking delight in punishing Pipsqueak just for being around them at the wrong time. Look at this little runt. A brown colt cackled as he pointed at the fallen Pipsqueak. The colt was about a head taller than Pipsqueak, and he wasn't shy about pointing out the pony's small stature. Standing next to him was a dark grey colt, laughing as he pressed a hoof firmly against Pipsqueak's head.
He's like a little baby pony,
the grey bully said as he hit the smaller colt in the head with the same hoof.
You gonna cry, baby pony, huh?
Pipsqueak covered his head and squeezed his eyes shut, trying hard to hold back the tears building. He knew that the moment he started crying, the real torment would begin. He thought that by holding back this time, the bullies would get bored and leave. It seemed that this time they had no intention of leaving any time soon. "Come on!" The brown colt kicked Pipsqueak in the stomach, getting a pained groan from his victim. "Cry! Show us how much of a baby you are!" "Hey!" an older voice shouted from the distance. They looked over and saw Patch in his Royal Guard armor sans the helmet. The stallion had an angry look on his face. "Leave him alone!" He started to rush over. "Ah!" the brown colt shouted as he bolted away. "Let's get out of here!" "You lucky your brother's here to babysit you, Pipsqueak," the grey colt scorned as he ran off. "We'll see you tomorrow, Runt." Patch ran next to Pipsqueak, still looking at the bullies with a growl. "Tease him again and you'll be sorry, punks." He looked at Pipsqueak, softening his tone and dropping his scowl. "Pip, are you okay?" With the bullies finally gone, Pipsqueak sniffed and let his built-up tears free. Uh-huh," he said, wiping his eyes. Patch kneeled down and hugged Pipsqueak closely. "Listen, Pip, you can't let those guys pick on you like this. There are times when you need to stand up for yourself." But Pipsqueak started to sob. "They're bigger than me, and their punches really hurt, and I'm—" "You're small, I know that, Pip." Patch shook his head. "They pick on you because of that. They would never do what they did to you to a pony bigger than they are, or even one their own size. It's because they're cowards." "What?" "They only take on ponies that are smaller than they are. You saw how fast they ran when I showed up. But I can't be there to save you all the time, Pip. You need to learn how to stand up for yourself, and show them how much braver you are than them. You are stronger than you think you are, you know." Pipsqueak let out a sob as he pressed his face against his brother's chest, still crying his eyes out. Patch smiled slightly as he rubbed Pipsqueak's mane gently, trying to comfort the crying colt. "Come on, let's go home, baby bro. Mum has made us a very special snack for my visit, some honey nut treats." Pipsqueak sniffled again, and looked up at Patch with a small smile. Those are my favorite." "Attaboy." Patch picked him up and set him on his back. "We'd better hurry before Dad eats them all." He started to walk off, carrying Pipsqueak carefully, as they made their way home. Pipsqueak could almost forget the beating he received by the bullies, for now his brother was home, and that was all he needed to smile. "Are you okay? You can open your eyes now." Pipsqueak slowly opened an eye, seeing Applebloom standing over him, holding out a hoof. "Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon left just now. I guess they got bored and went home." "Next time I see those spoiled jerks," Scootaloo fumed as she sat with her forehoofs crossed, "I'll tear their manes off." "That's so mean," Sweetabelle said. However, she did giggle a bit, more than likely at the thought of a bald-headed Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. Thank you," Pipsqueak said as he took the filly's hoof and stood up straight. "I thought they were going to hit me, so I—" "Hit you?" Scootaloo looked over. "You were afraid of those two hitting you? They can barely kick a ball more than 2 feet at soccer. You was out big time." Pipsqueak lowered his head, remembering gym class last week. "Oh yeah, they weren't very good at all. They drive us up the wall too." Applebloom groaned as she looked at her flank. "Always calling us blank flanks." "And saying that we'll never get our cutie marks." Sweetabelle lowered her head sadly. "And calling me a chicken." Scootaloo stomped on the ground. "I am not a chicken." "They make fun of me because of my height," Pipsqueak sighed. "You are pretty small, even though we're the same age," Sweetabelle pointed out. "Do you have dwarfism?" No, Sweetabelle." Scootaloo shook her head. "Otherwise he'd have a really bushy beard." "Oh yeah," Sweetabelle said with a sudden nod. "Oh, if he had elfism, he would be the tallest pony in the class." The exchange made Pipsqueak feel even worse about his height. He didn't have any medical reason to be the way he was, at least not that he knew of. He was just small, the runt of the family.
"Hey, you got a black flag just like we do,"
Applebloom pointed out, as she pointed a hoof at Pipsqueak's backside. He wasn't sure if they were deliberately trying to make him feel worse about himself, but they weren't exactly making him feel better.
"Oh my gosh, you're right, Applebloom."
Sweetabelle seemed to light up at the news.
"You know what we should do."
"I reckon I know what you're gonna say," Applebloom smiled at her.
"And I think it's a great idea."
What are we gonna do?" Scootaloo asked, confused almost as much as Pipsqueak was at the moment.
"We should take him cutie mark crusading with us,"
Sweetabelle exclaimed with a cute little hop.
"Yeah!"
Applebloom said with equal excitement.
"Why, with 4 ponies, we just might be able to get our cutie marks even faster."
Pipsqueak was surprised at the 2 fillies' announcement. He barely knew any of the ponies in his class, and yet they wanted him to go cutie mark crusading with them. He wasn't even sure what cutie mark crusading was, let alone if he wanted to join them.
"Wait a minute,"
Scootaloo said in a slightly protesting tone.
"Can we have a cutie mark crusader huddle here?"
In what seemed like a flash, the 3 fillies gathered together in a huddle, leaving Pipsqueak to watch in puzzlement. He could see them conversing with one another, but couldn't make out what was being said. Despite his curiosity, he dared not approach them, dreading what they could be saying about him.
"Are we sure we want this guy to crusade with us?"
Scootaloo said in a whisper.
"He doesn't seem like the crusader type." "There's a crusader type?"
Sweetabelle said out loud, receiving a harsh hush from Scootaloo.
"Sorry. Look, you saw how he spaced out during Miss Cheerilee's reading lesson today. Not to mention how scared he was when the jerk pair was picking on him. How's a pony like that supposed to help us get our cutie marks?" "Well, I think he deserves a chance,"
Applebloom said adamantly.
"I'm sure that after a while he'll be just as determined as we are to get our cutie mark." "We don't have a while, Applebloom,"
Scootaloo argued.
"We can't just wait for him to become crusader material. A crusader is born brave and always focused on the task at hoof. Hey, Scoots, what's over there?"
Applebloom pointed a distance away.
"Where?"
Scootaloo quickly turned her head towards where Applebloom was pointing.
"I don't see anything."
She couldn't hear Applebloom and Sweetabelle trotting away, giggling.
"I still don't see it. What am I looking at? Hey!"
She turned, seeing her 2 friends standing in front of Pipsqueak.
"So it's settled,"
Applebloom said to him with a huge smile.
"We'd like to invite you to join us on our cutie mark crusade this weekend."
Pipsqueak looked away and kicked his forehoof in the dirt.
"I don't know. I kind of just want to stay home all weekend." "But it'll be so much fun!"
Sweetabelle chimed in.
"We came up with a foolproof plan that is sure to get us our cutie marks."
Scootaloo joined the others, a sour expression on her face.
"That was a dirty trick, Applebloom. But if you insist on him being a part of this plan, then fine."
"Well," Pipsqueak looked up at the 3.
"What exactly is the plan this weekend?"
Immediately the 3 fillies perked up as they raised their heads high and shouted at the top of their lungs,
"Cutie mark crusader camping trip!" "Ah!"
Pipsqueak winced as he covered his poor ears.
"Camping trip? We're gonna rough it in the Whitetail wood and do as many things as possible, so we can earn our cutie marks,"
Applebloom declared.
"Making s'mores." "Stargazing," Sweetabelle declared after her. "Telling ghost stories."
Scootaloo grinned, unaware that her statement made Sweetabelle whimper a little.
I don't know."
Pipsqueak sighed sadly.
"I think Don't tell me you're afraid of a little camping trip."
Scootaloo narrowed her eyes at him. Pipsqueak shuddered a little at her glare.
"No. I used to go camping a lot back in Trottingham. See, he's already an experienced camper," Applebloom said to Scootaloo. "He's perfect for this trip.
Pipsqueak kept looking at the three fillies. Why were they so insistent that he join their trip? He supposed that it would be helpful having what they considered an experienced camper around. And maybe sitting at home wasn't the best way to spend a whole weekend anyway.
If you really want me to go, then I'll come along then.
He nodded hesitantly.
Yay!
The Crusaders cheered in unison. However, it was obvious that Applebloom and Sweetabelle were much more enthusiastic than Scootaloo.
I'll go talk to my parents and...
Pipsqueak started to say, before Scootaloo got really close to him, prodding a hoof against his chest.
Be there, at 6 o'clock, just outside Whitetail Wood. Don't be late. We don't wait for stragglers. Oh, and you better not hold us back from getting our cutie marks, got it?
Pipsqueak swallowed the lump in his throat and nodded.
Got it. All right then.
Scootaloo gave a slight smile, which would have been almost comforting were it not for her still narrowed eyes.
I'm gonna go pack for the trip. I'll see you girls later, she said as she walked off. I'd better pack too. Sweetabelle nodded. If my sister packs for me, I'll probably have nothing but soap and fancy clothes for the entire trip. Bye, Pipsqueak. Bye, Applebloom. She galloped away happily. We'll see you there, Pipsqueak.
Applebloom smiled at him.
I can't wait. It's gonna be so fun,
she said as she ran off to prepare as well.
Yeah, fun,
Pipsqueak said as he frowned sadly.
Can't wait.
He turned and started a short trek home. He wished he could feel excited about this experience. At one time he loved camping. It was one of his favorite things to do during the weekend. It was one of Patch's favorite things to do too, and just another thing that he and Pipsqueak would never get to experience together again. That was Chapter 1 of Brotherly Bond by Crash Jet. Thank you for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed it. What do you think of my reading? Leave your feedback and ideas in the comment section below. Hope to see you again when I'm finished with Chapter 2.